In this video, I'm going to teach you how to mix and create values and gradients in acrylic paint. To do this, you will need a palette with the primary colors and black and white. You'll also need a cup of water, paintbrush, and a paper towel to dry your paintbrush with. Now, you might remember from our discussion on the elements of art that a tint is a color plus white added, and a shade is color plus black added. So we can use that idea to start to create gradients, just like we did with watercolors. So let's say that I want to create a green tinted gradient. I'm going to start by mixing myself some green. So I'm going to grab a good amount of yellow here. Remember, yellow is the least powerful color. And I'm going to want to mix kind of a more green than I did in my color assignment. And then I'm going to take a bit of blue. And I'm going to mix. Now, I did get that blue dirty, which isn't ideal, so I don't recommend you do what I just did. A little bit more blue. Keep mixing. Remember not to spread out your color too much. Make sure it's really well mixed, not uneven. Alright, that looks good. Now, I'm going to do a tint. So what's going to happen is I'm going to start on one end and paint just that pure green, like so. Then I'm going to take a bit of this green, put it here on my palette. I'm going to snag a bit of white, and I'm going to mix in just a little bit of white. Paint it next to it. And what's going to happen is I'm going to grab a little bit more green, and I'm going to start to blend these two together with some of this green. So but this is a wet into wet method where it's going to slowly blend. And then if I need it to get a little smoother, I can wipe off my brush, rinse it off in my water, wipe it on my paper towel. I actually want to leave my brush just a smidge damp because that will help it mix a little bit. I'm just doing smooth strokes to help it all go together. Okay. And then I can take a little bit more white, mix it in, paint it again, a little bit more white, mix it again, and then as I'm starting to get lighter, I might even just put a little bit of of the green on my palette and start to add a lot more white. Because white is a less powerful color. You're going to need more white to offset the other pigments. So paint more white. Add some more white to this color. Paint it again. Go back, blend it together. And then at this point, I think I'm just going to take just white on my brush. Notice my brush is still dirty. And I'm going to paint just white. Just a little bit of paint that's still on my brush is helping it to become a bit green. And finally, I'm going to rinse my brush, dry it, grab just white, and paint it in, and smooth it out. Start to blend it. Dry it off. White, blend it a bit more. And finally finish off with some more pure white on my brush. There we go. I have a full gradient. This is a tint gradient. Now I can do the same thing with a tone, but this time I'm going to use black. So I'm going to start with the same green I made before. Now there are two ways I can create a tone. I'm going to show you both methods. I could take just a tiny bit of black. So you have just a smidge of black on my brush. Start to mix it in. Because black will create a tone. Okay, and that will start to make it darker. But the method I'm partial to, I'm going to put this on so you can see it. The method I'm partial to is the complement method. So that's where I take a bit of green, there's a bit of yellow in there, and I'm going to add a smidge of the complement. So the complement of green is red, so I add red. I find that this gives a richer tone to my shadows. So now, instead of having just a dark green, I have more of a muted green. So you can really see that difference there. This is with a little bit of black added. This is with a little bit of red added. Now, you can only get so dark by adding a complement, so then you would go and use black on top of adding red to create a really, really dark shade. So what that looks like, hold on, I'm going to mix up a bit more green. So I'm going to start by painting in my green. See that this green has a tiny bit more yellow to it than the first one, but that's fine. Start with my green. Take a scoop of it, put it here on my palette, add in a little bit of red. Add adding a complement will start to dull it down. That, and then this off. Gotta go back and do some blending. So I think I'm going to take some green, just stroke it, and blend the two together. That. Maybe I'll add a tiny bit more red now, but just a dot, a tiny little dot at a time. Adding a complement is a powerful thing. More. Take a little bit more red, blend it. Alright, and I'm just about to the edge of how much red I can add. It's now starting to turn just a pure brown. So I'm going to blend the two together. I'm actually just going to add some green. The blend. There's that. So that's blending. And now at this point I need to start adding some black. So that's how I'm going to get to my dark shadow stage. So same thing as before, I keep adding black. Now black is a much stronger color than white, so you don't need to add as much black in order to get to a dark value. And now I think I'm to the point where I'm just going to put black on my brush and paint just the black. There we go. So that, of course, looks different than if I were to do just green with black, which would look more like some green. So we can see what a difference it is between this, which is just black, and this, which has the complement. Alright, so now your assignment is to create a gradient. You need one tint, which is the color plus white, any color you want, and one shade, which is a color plus black. But feel free to play around with adding some complement in there to see what you get.